Uh, Welcome to another edition of the new Sports Outlaws. As always, I am Neil and this is Dan. And Dan, we join everyone on another Wednesday night, but this is a special Wednesday night. For us baseball fans, it is Baseball Opening Night Eve. How are you this week, Dan?
Yeah, it's an exciting time. Evening, opening day eve. Everyone's looking forward to afternoon baseball a little later. So maybe for some of those people that do want to take half a day, maybe they could take a little longer. Because I think the Mets and Yankees start at 3 o'clock or 3-ish, probably 3:30 with all the Yankees and all the stuff that they do for opening day. So that'll be good. We thought it would be mostly baseball, but over the last 48, 72 hours, we had a couple Giants things to come down that came down. So we'll talk about that. Get a little bit of basketball, and we'll have another full slate today. Let's get it going.
Yep. Dan, though, let's start with baseball because this is Baseball Opening Night
Baseball?
Eve.
Baseball.
And, obviously, when we go through the baseball season, this will be our first full baseball season we're going to go through since we started in the summer last year. But as we sit here on Opening Night Eve, we're going to focus, obviously, on our local teams, and especially us will focus more on the Yankees than anything. But tomorrow, we will send Carlos Rodon to the mound against Peralta for the Brewers. And let's start off with what you think about the Yankees this year, what you think about them tomorrow.
Obviously, for the Yankee fans, they had a lot more to look forward to at the beginning of spring training when we still had Garrett Cole on the mound, when we still had a couple guys that are kind of not Luis Heels, Giancarlo Stantons. We were hoping they would be around, but obviously they're not. The key for us is definitely going to be the back end. Well, we have a lot of changes in the lineup. Obviously, Juan Soto is no longer there. So we have to, and I think we are going to get good production out of Bellinger, who's hit the cover off the ball in spring, whatever that means. Goldsmith, who we need to get on base. I mean, our first base production last year was absolutely horrid. Um, Jason Dominguez will finally be in the big leagues. I think we've been waiting for him for a little bit now, or at least Yankee fans who have known him since he was 17 years old, been looking for him. So he'll definitely be up. Third, I'm assuming Cabrera is going to start tomorrow at third base. It looks like I think he's won the starting job. I don't think anything official's come out, but I guess he'll do that. But I think he's going to be that back end of our rotation. I mean, I think our pitching rotation is going to kind of make or break us. Between is Rodon going to have the same season? Because he had a pretty good season for the Yankees last year. Is Rodon going to have the same season? I don't expect much from Stroman. I know he had a good first half of the year for us last year before he kind of fell off. I still don't expect much of him this year. I think it's all going to depend on how much Will Warren, how much has he improved? Can he take that next step into being a big league pitcher, not just someone that we're going to use in case somebody gets hurt? I expect big things from Fried. I think he's going to have a good year. Hopefully Schmidt is not hurt for the long term. I know he's on the IL for the first 10 days of the year, but hopefully he's not on there for long. But I think between Will Warren and maybe get a couple starts out of Cookie Carrasco, I think our bullpen's going to be really good this year with
Agreed.
Devin Williams, obviously closer, Luke Weaver, who has that closer experience, that Cruz, that free agent pickup that we had, or I think maybe it was a trade actually. I forgot Cruz, but he has a good fastball, good splitter, and Tim Hill was really good for us as a lefty in the bullpen last year. But we have a lot of changes. Obviously, a lot of changes happened when Juan Soto left. I think our batting will be actually pretty good. I actually really like Austin Wells in that leadoff spot, or Goldschmidt, depending if it's a lefty righty, and have all the fast guys, Volpe, Dominguez, Chisholm at the bottom of the lineup. I think that'll be good for us. But yeah, I think it's going to be our rotation is what's going to be huge for us, or it's going to be a big thing for us this year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for all his faults, I think we all can agree. I think Cashman's strong suit is is his bullpen and putting together his bullpen. That's been something he's been able to find guys off the scrap heap, guys for in Rule 5 drafts, guys for C-level prospects that never are going to make it to the major leagues. Cashman, you have to give him credit for that. Listen, I've been on the bandwagon of getting rid of Cashman for a while. I didn't hold it against him, Juan Soto leaving. I mean, I think we all thought it was ridiculous. And it got crazy, and they offered him more than I wanted them to offer him. But one thing that I can say Brian Cashman does really well, it's not finding starting pitching. It's finding diamonds in the rough when it
Uh,
comes to relief pitching.
yeah, I mean, I think with the Juan Soto thing, I didn't think. I know we always talk about how Steinbrenner's getting cheaper and cheaper every year. And I don't think we ever. I think at the beginning of the year we were talking like in the 600 low sixes in terms of what Soto was going to get, and it seems like that Cashman and then went up to set whatever was 750 something over the 14 years, and that's I think again we try. I think we put our best foot forward, but I think at the end Soto had his decision made for a while, and I think actually maybe I mean maybe I don't know if we'll find out, but maybe Cashman pushed Mr. Moneybags over in Queens, owner Cohen, to kind of really up his offer and give him that crazy amount, $765 million. But yeah, I think we got some good pickups. I know we maybe didn't get the high price third baseman in Arenado or anything like that, which I mean, we'll see how Oswaldo does. I do want to see Oswaldo get some like a full run. I think he deserves at least a
Definitely.
chance. I mean, because when DJ came back last year, it was almost like Cabrera kind of took a back seat no matter what. And I think Cabrera, after he kind of carried us a lot in April and May last year. Um, but I'm looking forward to hopefully Cabrera gets a real shot over there. Seems like Peraza is kind of on the way out.
Yeah, it might end up being another one of those Esteban Florial, like quadruple A type players. Not good enough to be in the majors, but too good to be in triple A. Yeah, listen, we're going to go as far as our starting pitching can take us, and that's even without Garrett Cole. I have high hopes for Max Fried, as do you. If you can, Rodon can give you what he gave you last year. I know you say he was good, but I still think he was very inconsistent in big games. He felt like he let us down.
Well,
But listen, statistically, if you give me 90% of what you gave me last year in Eurodon, I think I take it. I want to see what Will Warren has and brings to the table. Hopefully, like you said, Clark Schmidt is back relatively quickly. And for somebody who has Luis Heel stashed away on his IL in his fantasy baseball league, um, getting Luis Heel around the All-Star break will be like making a nice little trade.
okay. Yeah, the reason I say that about Rodon is because I remember 2 years ago when we had him and just how terrible he was for us. And everyone remembers the whole thing where he was upset coming off the mound, gave the middle finger to the guy in the stands when he was coming off the mound in the stadium, and everyone was saying he's just not for the Yankees or not for New York. And I think he did prove some doubters wrong. I mean, he was in our rotation all year long, which you really can't say about anybody. You didn't say that about anybody in our rotation. I know wins don't mean much, but what do you have? 14 wins last year, 14, 15 wins. I know what was it? Probably 4.5 ERA, something like that. If he can give me that, not exactly the win, but a 4.5 ERA, I'll take that from him for now.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, I'm listen. After year one, it looked like Rodon was going to have a couple of the names that we did in our
Sonny
worst
Grays, Frank
transaction ever.
Montas,
he
all
looked like he looked like he was going to be AJ Burnett. He looked like he was going to be Kiyagawa. He looked like he was going to be those type of players. And I mean, listen, if he could put together another year like he did last year, then he's not in that type of conversation. But if he goes back to what he gave us year one of this contract, and all you had was that last year, which, like you said, wasn't stupendous, but was pretty solid. If he goes back to the year one performance, it's not going to look good again for Brian Cashman and signing of these pitchers. Oh, another name like Javi Vasquez, somebody that looks like he has so much success somewhere else, Sonny Gray, and then he comes to the Yankees and falls off the table. Speaking of falling off the table, I see little
Maybe the
brother
facial hair
and I see little brother and Tommy Lugauer and the Mets. What do we think about Tommy Lugauer's New York Mets? By the way, I like Lugauer. I almost can't listen to him anymore. It's so listen. I get he's trying to get clickbait and make even him trying to make a name for himself in out of place like WFAN. But like he today said, 125 wins. He's doing it to get people aggravated. And I gotta admit, it got me aggravated. I'm like, what are you out of your freaking mind? So they send Clay Holmes to the mound tomorrow against Valdez of the Houston Astros.
Ramba. Yeah, it kind of reminds. So when we talked about the Nets 2 weeks ago, and I was arguing with that Twitter fan on X, Doug Norrie, I'll just say, is he does a Nets lockdown podcast. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of that with Tommy Lugauer, how every time he's just talking about the little brother Yankees, or not even that, just the big brother Mets, if anything, and just saying what he like. I texted you, I remember a couple days ago, like, I just want to call and just go off on them. I know they'll cut me off and we won't be able to say what we want to say. But yeah, it's tough. But they haven't done anything yet. But their rotation is probably, I think, a lot worse off than the Yankees are. When you have Frankie Montas he's hurt. Sorry, Frankie Montas is hurt. When Griffin Canning's in your rotation, I'm not saying he's not going to be in it, but he wouldn't be anywhere near the Yankee rotation. Clay Holmes, I know we had a great spring. And he was really up and down for the Yankees. When he was really good for the Yankees, he was really good. But he had too many of those blips where it led the league in blown saves, stuff like that. He lost a lot of people. Lost Quintana, lost Iglesias, lost Severino, too, who was really good for them last year. Again, they're going to be good. They have Juan Soto, probably the top 3 player in baseball. I'm not sure. I think everyone's sold right now on Vientos kind of doing what he did last year. Even Lindor, I don't know if he could be MVP level Lindor. I mean, I guess hopefully, obviously for Met fans, they want him to stay over that hump. Pete Alonso, they're depending hopefully maybe with a little contract to be better. There's a lot of ifs I think with the Mets, and I think a lot of people are excited because the Braves weren't around last year, but the Braves had an insane amount of injuries between Acuna, Albies, Riley, Austin Riley. I know that a couple other guys, but Chris Sale was a Cy Young, I believe, last year. And if the Braves continue to do what they're doing, I still think the Braves own that division. And I think the Phillies are right there with them. So I
Yeah.
think the Mets have a lot of ifs that they have to go through. They'll be a good team. They'll probably make the playoffs again. Probably like an 85 to 90 win team. But I really don't see anything. I would actually expect less than that, actually, but I don't see anything bigger than 88, 89.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like you said, Philly had that division last year until they choked it away. The Braves are the Braves, and they are a stud team, had a lot of injuries, and their pitching is awesome. And listen, not a Yankee fan trying to take shots at Met fans, but if I'm being objective, I don't think they've made enough altercations to their team to tell me last year they were the third best team and they needed an insane run to become the third best team in that division and make the playoffs. I don't think they did enough to say that they're better than either the Phillies or the Braves. So I mean, like, we need to pump the brakes on even 90 plus wins, which is that stupid SNY poll that was put up a couple of days ago, where everybody that works for the Mets, Sal Licata, 97 wins. Sal, what did they do? Sal, they lost a bunch of players. Yes, they added Juan Soto. Do I
One.
think they can be equal or even possibly a little better than they were last year? Sure, maybe they don't need a crazy run and they put themselves in a playoff spot. Just having a full solid year, very possible. But you're going from that to they going to be the first in the division and win 97 games. He should be kicked off the radio for stupid takes like this. I don't,
Yeah,
at least
yeah. When
at least Lugauer is like a board guy. Like, yeah, you do a half-hour show and you're a board guy. Sal's got a 3 or 4 hour show on New York Sports Talk, and he's saying 97 wins. Get out of here, tool.
yeah, I want to go back and see what he said last year when everyone was calling last year a developmental year, when they were supposed to be absolute trash last year. And they started out the year like absolute trash. And then they had a really good run, a magical run, took them to almost the World Series. And a lot of what the Lugauers like to say, oh, they pushed them further than the Yankees did. Great, whatever. Hopefully for Met fans, whereas that almost wasn't like a blip. And maybe, I mean, hopefully, I I would want to see the Mets be pretty good for the Yankees. So the Yankees, I want to see the Yankees and the Mets at their best, because obviously the Yankees have a lot to go for this year because the Mets swept the Yankees in their 4 games that they played last year. So I don't think Aaron Boone's going to go anything with those giveaway lineups. I think a couple of those games, it was a couple of like trash lineups that he was putting out there,
Yeah,
like rest day
I
lineups, from
remember
what I
that for sure.
remember. So I think this year, at least especially with Juan Soto, I think they'll be putting their best foot forward just to kind of make a statement and to say, all right, let's go. We're the Yankees. Let's do it.
All right, so since tomorrow is opening day, we are going to share some predictions. But before we share our predictions for division winners for some of the awards, Dan, I have odds to bring to your attention. I did some research, and DraftKings has Aaron Judge at plus 400 to have 60 or more homers. They have him at plus 210 to hit 55 or more homers, or they have at plus 105 to hit 50 or more homers. I guess the
Huh?
question
Huh?
is, what do
Huh?
you think, Dan? Would you put $100 of your own money on the 50 or more, the 55 or more, or the 60 or more?
Um, I think he's just because he was such great protection for Soto. I don't think he's going to get as many at like chances to hit as much this year. I mean, if I was to put, I would probably bet less than 50 actually. Not because of anything bad he's going to be doing. I just think with Soto always getting on base, and they knew they had a pitch to Judge, especially earlier in the year. I think he's going to get less opportunities, at least until unless Bellinger becomes a like absolute stud. I expect Bellinger to be really good, but I don't think Judge is going to get as much at first. I'd say it's somewhere in the 40s. He's still going to hit home runs. If I was to choose, I guess I would choose the 50 and over if I'm going to choose one at the plus 200. Um, but yeah, I think Judge will still have obviously a monster year. I don't think he's going to get as many opportunities as he had last year, and that's going to kind of fall on everybody else. But I think I would choose the 50 if I was going to 50 and up. If I was
Yeah,
to,
I think you see more of a full season of Judge batting
and he's back to
315.
2, right? He's going to be back
Yeah,
to 2, right?
yeah,
So
but I think you see him more like, the focus will be on batting 315 to 325 and not having as many homers, probably being that 40 to 50 range, like you were suggesting. But so I mean, if I had to take one, I'd probably also take the 50 or more, just because I think he's going to be more doubles, singles this year, because I don't think he's getting as good of pitches to hit, like you said, from last year. And the only over under number I can find on Prize Picks for the Mets' $800 million man was 34 and a half homers. He had his most homers ever with the Yankees and has a short porch. So, do we think Juan Soto hits 35, or do we think he hits 34 or less?
well, wasn't it the last 3 years he pretty much hit before last year? I think he hit like 35 on the button, like literally for like 3 straight years before last year's whatever he hit
City
40.
Field's not an easy City Field's not
That
an easy place to
that's
homers
what
though.
I'm saying, and he's big into going also obviously not pulling. He's going to left center also. Um, so 34 and a half. I'm going to go on the under, maybe slightly.
Same.
That's a tough one though. Again, that's tough. I would say the under just for now, but if anything, it'll be really close. I'd maybe
Listen,
33 to 37. I mean,
Listen, if he hits 292 and has 32 home runs and 110 RBIs, the Mets are not going to ask for any money back. I'm going
no,
to tell you that right now.
no.
Um, all right, so some of our predictions, Dan. Let's start off with the AL first. We're AL fans. In the East, I'll take the Yankees, and I think they have around 91 wins. They'll go like 91-71.
I agree. A lot of people out there I was looking up earlier picking the Red Sox because of all the acquisitions that they made. They have a lot of young guys in the pipeline that are coming up, I think, this season. A lot of people are up on Crochet. I don't think it's going to be that great. I mean, I know the White Sox and the Red Sox are two totally different franchises. Um, but I still have the Yanks. I think I do like Bellinger a lot. I think Dominguez is going to make a huge difference with him getting a full season, hopefully healthy. Um, but yeah, I think Baltimore. I think everyone's got a sour taste with Baltimore because of how they finished last year. They pretty much just tanked it last year, and then they got swept by I forgot the team that swept them in the wild card last year, maybe the Tigers. But yeah, I'm still with the Yanks in the East to win it.
Yep. In the Central, I'll take the Kansas City Royals. Not too much to break down there. I'm just doing some research on their odds and what some of the analysts are saying. And in the West, I'll take Texas. So, what do you think about the Central and the
Yeah,
West?
no, yeah, we're kind of be boring on this one. It'll be the Royals and the Rangers. The only ones I know Detroit kind of surprised everybody with Tarek Skubal being their ace, maybe the best pitcher, probably the best pitcher in the American League. And then I know they brought back Jack Flaherty from last year. So, I mean, and they brought in obviously Gleyber Torres, who's going to probably be at the top of their lineup, I'm assuming. But I think the Royals with Bobby Witt Jr. and a couple of their young guys, I think they'll take it. And then the Rangers have a lot of young guys, too, that are coming up. Maybe I would want to see a nice little Jacob deGrom so I can hear the Met fans just go all pissed off. But I want Jacob deGrom. I mean, he's back, so maybe he'll, get a few starts in there and be good. But yeah, Royals and Rangers.
All right, Dan. What do you think about the Mets? What's their record next year?
I think they finish at 86 wins. So if they're at 86, I'm going to go 86-76, I believe that is. So I'll go
You know how
86. They'll
you know
make the.
how I know that? You know how I know that? Because I'm 85-77 on my
There you
predictions
go.
for the
I
Mets.
was just doing quick math in my head, but that's just me being my math person that I am. But yeah, 86. They'll sneak into the playoffs. I think they'll be around the same as last year. They'll sneak in as that third wild card. They'll be a good team, but again, I don't think they're really anywhere near right now. I don't see how you could be anywhere near the Braves and the Phillies right now.
Yeah. Um, I'm the same. I got the Mets sneaking in. In the East, I have Philadelphia putting together the full season. And then in the Central, in the Central, I have the Cubs, and in the West, I have LA. So what do you got going around the horn?
Yeah, we have a difference. I'm going to pick the Braves to come back and take that division. Hopefully, if everyone stays healthy, I think they're still a really legit contender. I think they have a better chance. I mean, they're right with the Dodgers up there. And then I have the Cubbies with their new acquisitions of Kyle Tucker, and they have a couple guys up there coming up. And then, of course, the Dodgers. You really can't pick against them in any situation.
My other two wild card spots, I have the Braves sneaking in with a wild card spot, probably like 88 wins or so, and then I have the Giants getting the last or the second to last or last wild card spot.
And
They've
yeah, I have
made
the
some
Phillies,
improvements.
and then I have the D-backs actually getting in beside not the Giants, the Diamondbacks getting in along with the Metsies.
Okay, so and what do you have as far as your AL championship game matchup?
I have maybe just being a homer, but I cannot pick them as a homer. But I'll go with the Yankees, and I'm actually going to go with the Rangers. The Yanks and the Rangers in the. You have the same thing, of course you do. In the ALCS. Of course, I want the Yankees to win. I'm going to pick the Yankees to win. Maybe it's just because of last year. Yankees I have the Yankees winning the pennant, but I have Yanks Rangers in the championship series.
Um, I have Yanks Rangers in the championship series. I guess it's the pessimistic Yankee fan in me. I have them losing to Texas,
There you
led
go.
by Jacob deGrom.
Oh,
And Texas going
would
to the
it
World
would it be
Series.
that bad? Like, say that happens. I know it would be terrible for us. We would hate it, but especially if the Mets are out. See Jacob deGrom,
It makes
a
it
former
it makes
Met,
it a
do that.
little less bitter of a
Just a
pill to
tiny bit.
swallow.
It wouldn't be a lot, but it'd be a tiny
Just a
bit
little
because
bit.
you listen to the radio. You would still listen to the radio. Normally, when our teams lose, we can't listen to the radio. But now, if Jacob DeGrom does it and the Mets are out, especially at this time, it's just a little bit, it'd be great.
Yep. In
um,
my in
Go
my
ahead.
in my NL championship game, I have the Braves versus the Dodgers.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Dodgers Braves. But I do have. I don't know if I'm just being different here or I just want the Dodgers to lose. I do have the Braves actually coming out of there and winning the pennant. So I do have the Braves winning the pennant there. Maybe because I hate the Dodgers. And you do too. So what does it matter? So we have Braves. You have Rangers. Go ahead. Yeah, just go.
I have the Braves beating the Texas Rangers in the World Series.
I actually have the Braves. So we have the same exact World Series pick, and we didn't talk about this
Listen,
at all.
if anybody's
Um,
watching this, I swear to God, we did not share notes with each other. I was just shocked that we both had the same pennant matchups. We had almost the same exact World Series, and we got the same exact team winning the championship with no
and
common
most
research.
and most likely, if I wasn't a Yankee fan, I probably would have picked the Rangers to beat the Yankees, and
Pessimistic
we would
Yankee fan.
and we would have had the same exact thing in the World Series because I have the Braves winning the World Series also. So
And
yeah,
I had a feeling you were going to do Braves Dodgers. That's why I pushed my way to go first there because I was like, all right, we just admitted you went first and we were the same. Let me go first, and we were still the same. Dan, who do you have for you? Do AL MVP first. I'll do NL MVP first. So go ahead.
well, I mean, I think NL MVP. I think we all have to agree on NL MVP. We kind of called it last year when we were calling it the Otani Award. So I mean, if he pitches well, which he's probably going to, and he's a lead hitter, they're just going to give it to him. I want to be different, but I kind of want to be right. So I'll go with Otani for
Yeah, I was looking at the odds when I was doing my research,
my
and I
plus
don't.
one, plus two something, plus one something.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else gives. I mean, obviously, anybody else could have a great year, but if he pitches and he has a season hitting anywhere near where he did last year, how do you not give it to him? Last year, he was just a hitter, not a pitcher. And then he puts up close to the same numbers as last year and pitches. Even if his pitching numbers are like a 5 or 6 ERA, he's still going out there and pitching competently and hitting 40 homers and 50 homers in a season. So, yeah, I have Shohei for National League too. I obviously not chalk, but it's a top three guy. I think if Kansas City's going to have such a good season, that Bobby Witt
Uh,
Jr. Well, I couldn't take Judge again. I didn't I didn't want to pick what's his name on Texas, so I went with Bobby Witt.
I was trying to be different because I was like, all right, I'll pick the Yankees to win the pennant. I can't pick Judge to win MVP now. I mean, I gotta like try to be somewhat unbiased or something. Um, yeah, I mean, Bobby Witt's a hell of a hitter. I think he's again. I don't think Judge is going to put up the monster numbers he put up last year. He'll put up really good numbers. He'll be really great. But I think Bobby Witt is he's really a young star, and I think this might be his year to go grab
Yeah.
it.
Yep. He had a good year last year. I think he just takes another step up. Who do you got for Cy Young?
I would feel we're going the same for this too. I guess I'll start in the AL. Maybe actually, yeah, I think we're getting the same. I'm gonna have the phenoms winning both Cy Youngs. Tarek Skubal from the Tigers.
Nice.
All right, good. We're different. So he kind of took the league by storm last year. I really don't see too many other pitchers. I would hope maybe the Yankee pitcher could do it, Max Fried, but Skubal, I think he really just took it by storm, and I think he'll take it this year.
Yeah. I mean, listen. We both picked guys. When I did my odds on in the top three of Cy Youngs, I have Max Fried down for my AL Cy Young pick because although
Hopefully.
I'm a Yankee fan, I believe without Garrett Cole here, if Max Fried does what he did when he was with the Braves, it'll look like to voters, look, he's carrying that staff, especially with Cole gone. Now, if Cole was here and Cole was putting up numbers like Cole does, and Max Fried put up numbers like he did last year, it doesn't look so good. I think it's going to look really good because although we have some solid pitching, I don't think anybody else's numbers are going to look like Max is on this team. And if the Yankees can win 90 plus games, I think that'll hold a lot of weight with the Cy Young voters. So I went with Max Fried. And in the National League, I went with Zach Wheeler
Okay.
because, again, another top 5 type guy for the Cy Young preseason. But if the Philadelphia Phillies are going to win that division, he's their best pitcher.
Yeah, I'm glad we disagreed on this one. So I think obviously another phenom who was probably should have won the Cy Young if he pitched the whole year last year. Paul Skeens from the Pirates, future Yankee, Paul Skeens. So I think that he was just dominant last year from the jump. I think he's just gonna. He's just. I think actually has the I think the Pirates play the Yankees actually. I think soon or early in the year.
Yeah.
I want to say, and I think the Yankees might get him. But yeah, I think Skeens is going to dominate. Again, I like Zach Wheeler. He's obviously a really good pitcher. But I think Skeens is just insanely good, and
Yeah.
he should have won it last year too.
And his girlfriend's really hot.
Livy Dunn. I know I was waiting for Livy Dunn plugger. Okay.
So I don't know if you had any Silver Sluggers. I think Judge and Jazz get Silver Slugger for the Yankees, and I think Soto gets one for the Mets.
Sure. Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah.
All right. So let's throw quickly. We're already in here 31 minutes, but we knew this was going to be a very baseball heavy podcast. But we'll just throw in a quick check in with our NBA teams. The Knicks are, only 3 up on the Pacers for the 4 seed. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Word is Brunson should be back. They're thinking next week. I don't know. I know they're playing today, and after tonight, there's 10 games left. I may have Brunson sit until the second or third last game of the season and let him do couple minutes, so that by the time round 1 starts, he's like up to like 20 minutes a game. I don't need him to be playing all that much in the regular season.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk. So I'm not even going to bother talking Nets. They're just kind of tanking at this point. But anyway, so I think the Nets and the Knicks are kind of on common ground in this respect. So I think now the Knicks actually need to get the 3rd seed, and I think they will. But now, from the news that Damian Lillard all of a sudden has a blood clot, unfortunately, in his ankle or leg, something like that, in his lower body, he's going to be out, obviously, for a while. I mean, I know they didn't kind of rule him out for the year yet, like they did for Wembanyama, but I know he's on blood thinners and all that stuff. But my point is that if the Knicks can stay in the 3 seed, most likely the Bucks are going to get the 6th seed. And I think you guys should not be anywhere near nervous or scared about the Bucks. I think they're just I don't think they're that good at all. And for the Nets' perspective, the more the Bucks lose, the better their draft pick is next year, or for this next draft. So I do think the Knicks should get a few more wins just to kind of secure up that 3rd seed. I know maybe you're thinking of making a 4 seed maybe better just because of the Cavs in this next round, but again, you guys need to get healthy, get Brunson back. Again, I'm with you. I hold him out to maybe the last game, maybe, or last 2. Not even the last game. It's not even worth it at that point. Hold him out to that first week of the playoffs because you always get like a week off before the playoffs actually kind of start and start fresh against whatever you play with.
I didn't get a chance to research this, so I'll ask you if you saw anything. Did you see anything on the Jason Tatum ankle injury?
I haven't seen anything. Normally, I know we talked about it 2 days ago and it happened. I'm assuming maybe it's just a day-to-day thing. I'm
Yeah.
assuming something would have came up on our feed if it was like a grade something, whatever strain or whatever sprain, whatever that is. But I'm assuming it's nothing.
Well, that ankle determines whether I want the 3rd or 4th seed. If he's a little banged up, give me the 3rd seed, so he's maybe not as his normal self in the second round of the playoffs. If he's fully healthy, I don't mind sliding down to 4. Let me since you don't want to talk to him, I'll quickly just say the Nets are trying to screw up their draft pick. So let's move on to football. No, I'm kidding. No, but I mean
Sorry.
they won a couple games. Now they're tied to get out of the bottom 5 of the league. Listen, it's a crapshoot. And the Nets, no offense to the Nets, no one cares. And
Are they still in the league?
there's not enough fans that for the Nets. Like LeBron said, that jerk, you know what? Like LeBron said, it was kind of conspicuous. It was kind of
Did you hear what he said on McAfee? Ooh,
yeah.
boy, he
Yeah.
threw a lot of
Oh, it
stuff
was
out there.
kind of suspicious.
He threw a
That's the
lot
word
of
I'm
stuff
looking
out
for.
there.
It's kind of suspicious that the year I came out of high school, Cleveland got the pick. Yo, the NBA has done so much for you. Even if they did fix it, shut the bleep up, you
I mean, then he brought up like Derrick
moron.
Rose and the Bulls, and then he said some. I
Scumbag.
forgot there was one other,
Yeah,
but he threw out a lot. I gotta
I'll
watch
pass on the GOAT. You're not the GOAT.
the
Michael
goat.
Jordan's the GOAT. Anyway, um, so let's move on because I get aggravated with LeBron. I don't want to talk about him anymore.
Yeah, that would
But
always.
let's talk about the NFL. Always brings us happiness, whether it's off season or during the season. And we'll finish the podcast this week with the NFL. Just a couple things. So one of the big signings this week, before we get to local, it was Diggs to the Pats. 3 years, $69 million, I believe. I guess it's good and bad. Drake May gets a legit one receiver, and Diggs is a pain in the ass. So
He's got his money. Um, I think it was more one of those. I mean, I'm not sure if Diggs had many other suitors. I'm not sure if the Patriots had to go that far or that much money into it. $23 million a year is a lot for a 32-year-old receiver coming off an ACL injury. But I mean, again, it's only 3 years. Not like they're locked in crazy long term. So I'm assuming they're just getting a couple years, trying to get a couple years out of him. Give May a vet target, so he actually has somebody to throw to this year. I'm assuming they're going to go younger in the draft too and try to get a receiver, whatever the fourth pick of whatever they have. So yeah, it's a good. I mean, it's a lot of money. It's too much money. Good signing, but again, you know,
So I have a question for you. This was a rumor I heard earlier today was possibly
I think
Kirk
I know where you go.
Cousins to
Oh,
the Pittsburgh Steelers. So my question to you is, if that were to come to fruition, if Pittsburgh were to say, "Hey, listen, we already brought Mason Rudolph back. We are going to bring in not Aaron Rodgers but Kirk Cousins." What does Aaron Rodgers do? Does Aaron Rodgers basically get forced into retirement? 'Cause I don't see any other suitors out in the horizon.
um, maybe. You don't see. I don't see him. I don't think you do either. Coming back as a backup, obviously. He's not going to go the Joe Flacco route and just keep playing on backups until he's 45 or whatever. Um, maybe. I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess the only other team, which I guess they kind of said they weren't interested in with the Vikings, but they kind of, I think they already said they're pretty much not interested in him. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I mean, I'm trying to think of teams, maybe even like, I mean, I guess Cleveland, but I mean, just knowing teams I just got to throw out there, yeah, it's going to be a tough one, especially because Rodgers taking forever to make that decision. The Giants
Yep.
are just like, screw it, let's just get these quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, maybe he doesn't even retire. Maybe it's more like I'm gonna go work out and stay in my
Maybe
mansion in Montclair. If anybody loses a quarterback in
that's what I'm
September,
saying. Maybe like
October,
6 weeks or something.
yeah,
Just
give me a ring and I can salvage your season. Okay. So speaking of salvaging the season, are any of these guys going to be able to salvage the New York Giants season?
Mr.
And
Unlimited,
those guys I'm talking about,
unlimited,
crab legs, and cornball. So can any of those three guys
Mr.
save the Giants?
Unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited.
I actually really like what the Giants did. I actually am in favor of that bringing in those two quarterbacks. I think this kind of tells us. I know people are still saying that they can still draft Shador if he's there. But obviously, I think this is kind of a move to show that they wouldn't be like. Why would you put Shador Sanders in a quarterback room with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston? I'm not saying Jameis Winston's a bad guy, obviously, but I mean, and Russell Wilson's not. I mean, his work ethic has kind of been questioned a little bit when he was with Denver, but I don't even see why. And then Shador Sanders is just the whole thing on his own. I think it means that they're not, unless it goes deep in the draft where they get like a Milrow, or a McCord, or maybe even trade getting back to round one for Jackson Dart. Even though I think Jackson Dart's going to go early in round one, I think he's going to fly up. I know that people saying round two, but I think he's going round one. I think it means that Russell Wilson, though, it's going to be a competent offense, and he's still competent enough to run the offense. And I think he's great at throwing the deep ball. I think Malik Neighbors will be okay with him. And I actually kind of like what the Giants did, and I think they're going to take whether it's Abdul Carter. I'm not a big fan of Travis Hunter. I don't know about Travis Hunter, but Abdul Carter, I know there's a lot of guys out there, and it looks like they're not being pressured into taking a quarterback, and they're taking someone that's going to help them on their D line or offensive line that can really help them for the next 10, 15 years. So I actually like it a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if I said this to you in our group, in one of our text groups or our friends, or I know for a fact I did say it to my family, talking to my father and my brother. When this first happened, I was upset. I saw Winston come in. I was excited about that. I said, at least it will be entertaining. Maybe if Dayball can take some of his turnovers out of his game, he does like to air the ball out. He's got a strong arm. I don't mind giving Winston that type of money to see if you can find lightning in a bottle. I don't like bringing in Russ Wilson. I think he's absolutely cooked. I wanted, as
Sure.
just a bystander, for Justin Fields to continue at the 4-2 pace he had with them. I thought he had the offense moving pretty well in Pittsburgh. So I'm not a big fan of Russell Wilson. The one thing I was a fan of is after this happened, and what I said verbally to several different people was, I was happy that this happened because it would stop the Giants from making the mistake of drafting Shador Sanders. I don't want any part of Shador Sanders. You tell me Cam Ward falls to 3, then I still would probably take Cam Ward and let him sit behind these guys, or just cut Winston. He's a very small number, and you can leave Russell on the bench to back
One,
up it. What's up?
1 year. Russell
Yeah,
Wilson gets 1 year.
yeah, exactly. So, like, if something happened where Cam Ward fell to you, fine. But Shador Sanders is not it. All right, he struggled against defenses last year. He is not going to be any better against NFL defenses. He cannot run. And Brian, and what I don't understand is here is this infatuation with people like Adam Schefter saying, "Hey, it's the best quarterback in the draft." I don't know what the hell you're looking at. I can find a list of guys that you were 100% wrong on. But this guy has no athleticism like his father. He's not moving, he's not running, and those attributes are not Brian Dable type quarterbacks. He wants somebody who can move. So if you're going to tell me the Giants are going to, in the second round, let's say, draft Milrow from Alabama, or get the Patriots on the phone and get Milton, who I like, from Tennessee, the second-year player. If you're going to tell me one of those two players are coming in, fine. But besides that, I'm not bringing another quarterback who's a rookie version of Russell Wilson now. Russell Wilson doesn't move it now like he used to. When Jameis Winston never runs, so now we're gonna have 3 quarterbacks on the roster who don't move in a league where the quarterback needs to move and get positive yards. I mean, I'm not saying he's got to be Lamar Jackson at 900 yards, but he's got to be able to move and scramble and move the pocket. And now you're going to give me a rookie who's going to be just as bad as the 2 guys you just signed? Please pass. I'll be sick if it's not Hunter or Carter. I think Carter's the game changer out of the 2 of them. But if you're telling me Carter and Cam go, it's Hunter or trade back. It's not Shador.
Yeah, the Giants already passed up on one Penn State game wrecker in Micah Parsons. Do you want to do another one with Abdul Carter? So I think Carter. I think we both agree with Carter if he's there. I mean, I think the Browns have to go quarterback. I mean, we could talk about the draft in a few weeks or whatever, but I think the Browns have to go. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it was 1-2 Ward Sanders. But yeah, no, I agree. Again, Wilson's not. Again, I'm not expecting him to knock the playoffs, but I'm just saying that he's a competent quarterback. He's not going to be great. It's not going to be run down the field, throw the ball down the field, run and gun, or anything like that. It's going to be a lot depending on Tracy. Get the ball to Malik Neighbors on the short passes, maybe some deep ones to Neighbors. He still throws a really good deep ball, which is he kind of shown with last year. Look, yeah, looks like to Pickens just threw plenty of them last year, especially early on. Again, he's not going to be a savior. I don't expect him to be. It's 1 year, but I think it's better for the Giants, like we were both saying, that not be pressured by New York to just have to take a quarterback just because you need one. You should believe in Dayball. I know he hasn't given much to maybe believe in, especially the last couple of years, but he knows quarterbacks more than 99% of us do. And I think if trust in who he wants. Obviously, if he wanted Wilson, I hope he signed off on it and not just because.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan, we had a lot to talk about today. I mean, obviously, we went like almost a half an hour just on baseball, with our predictions and our Major League Baseball season preview. We touched in on our local basketball. We touched in on our local football. Really nothing to report with the Jets. I mean, we'll talk more about the Jets and if they get attached to any of these young quarterbacks. But they'll probably be a later project type pick. So.
Yeah, before we sign off, we didn't even get to talk about, or I guess talk about next week, March Madness, which
Yeah.
all started last week. And I mean, we'll talk about more because we'll be in the Final Four by the time we do this again next Wednesday. We could probably kind of redo our Final Four picks and see how bad we messed up or how good we were, maybe. Because I know we still have a couple number ones in there that we're still good with.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that next week with the Final Four. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about. 45 minutes, a lot of time. I mean, so we'll have a lot more to talk about next week. We'll have baseball, more basketball. That's going to be over. But yeah, keep following us on X, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Keep commenting, liking the account. So until next time, I'm Danny. This is Neil signing off.